I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, spilling my guts about something so raw, but here I am. It's been a long, messed up week, and I can't shake this feeling of betrayal that's hollowed me out. My wife Emily and I were supposed to get married in exactly a week. Everything had been perfect, or so I thought. We planned this beautiful wedding, the house was in order, and I'd never once doubted her. Until last night. That's when I found the messages and the hotel receipt. And the way my stomach lurched when I finally, truly saw it all. We'd just gotten back from a weekend at her parents' house. She left her phone on the kitchen table, and I picked it up just for a quick look. I don't usually do that, but something felt off. Maybe it was the way she'd been avoiding eye contact during dinner, or how she was nervously fidgeting with her bracelet. I'd never seen her like that before, so I thought, okay, maybe she's just tired. But then I saw the notifications. Her coworker, Jake, an endless string of messages. Flirty jokes, inside jokes, references to the cabin and plans for another visit. It was casual at first, so it seemed, but then it turned more intimate. Compliments on her looks, teasing about how she missed him, and a few "can't wait to see you" texts that made my stomach drop. I scrolled through, my palms slick with sweat. I couldn't stop. My eyes caught a picture, her smiling in front of some hotel window, a receipt for a room booked just days before our wedding. The words blurred as my mind spun. How could she do this? She told me she was helping her niece with schoolwork at the cabin, that she'd be busy all weekend. She said she was proud of how committed she was to family. And here she was, sneaking around with her coworker, spending nights in hotel rooms, lying straight to my face. The real punch to the gut was the message she sent him. Something about missed opportunities and can't wait to be alone again, like she was already planning her next move. I think I clenched my fists so hard I could feel my nails digging into my palms. My mind raced. How long has this been going on? Were all those nights I thought she was out with her friends really her sneaking off? I went cold. I sat there holding her phone, feeling the weight of that betrayal settle in. I knew from the way my stomach twisted that I'd never seen her the same way after this. It wasn't just a fling or some dumb mistake. It was a full-blown affair, right under my nose. I needed a plan. My mind was already racing through what I'd do next. But I knew one thing: this wasn't going to end with me just walking away. She crossed a line I couldn't ignore. I had to catch her in the act, confront her, and then decide what to do from there. No way I was going to be the fool who found out and did nothing. So I sat on the edge of the bed, her phone still in my hand, feeling the cold dread settle deep. I didn't sleep last night. I just stared at the screen, replaying the messages and the hotel receipt, feeling that strange mixture of rage and heartbreak. I knew I had to keep this quiet for now, gather more info, and then I'd surprise her when she least expects it. But first I had to do something about those messages. It was raw proof, and I knew that once I had it, I'd lose her forever. At least that's what I told myself. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down I knew everything was about to change. I looked at her phone one last time, feeling my fists tight. I had the evidence. Now I just had to decide how to use it. And I knew one thing for sure: she wasn't getting away with this. Not without consequences. I needed a plan, a real one. And I'd start by making sure she saw I knew everything, that she couldn't hide from the truth anymore. Today I woke up angry. I mean furious. I couldn't sit still. My stomach was knotted tight like I'd swallowed a rock, and my mind kept circling around her face, her lies, those damn messages. I'd kept the phone in my pocket all night, but I knew I'd have to use it soon. I had to get my ducks in a row. I started by going through her things, slow and deliberate. I needed more proof, more clues. I rummaged through her purse, her drawers, even peeked in her email account. Nothing yet. She was careful, I'll give her that, but I knew her tricks. She's been hiding something for a while, something she thought I'd never find out. While she was in the shower, I slipped her phone into my pocket and left the room. I wanted to confront her, but not yet. Not until I had everything lined up. I decided I'd visit the hotel myself. I'd go there, see what I could find, maybe even talk to the staff if I had to. The drive to the hotel was a blur. My hands clenched the steering wheel so tight that my knuckles turned white. I kept replaying those messages, imagining her lying under those sheets, laughing with him, sharing secrets. My chest ached with rage. How could she do this? How could she betray me like this just days before our wedding? The hotel wasn't far from where we'd been staying. It was a modest place, nothing fancy, but it had that sterile smell of fresh linens and cheap air freshener. I walked in, trying to act casual, but my heart pounded so loud I was sure they could hear it. "Can I help you?" the clerk asked, eyeing me with a bit of suspicion. "I need to know if there's been a recent check-in for a woman named Emily," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked at her screen, then nodded slowly. "Yes, just a few days ago in room 204. That was it, room 204. I pictured her in that bed with Jake or whoever he was. She lied to me about everything. I had to see that room. I had to see her with my own eyes." I took the elevator up, feeling my stomach twist tighter with each floor. The door opened and I stepped inside. When I reached the door, I paused, listening. No sounds, just the hum of the air conditioner. I reached out, my fingers trembling as I turned the doorknob. The room was exactly as I imagined: disheveled sheets, two glasses on the bedside table, a lingering scent of perfume I didn't recognize. I looked around, searching for anything that could tell me more. A used towel hung over the chair. A single shoe by the bed. Nothing blatantly incriminating, but everything felt wrong. That's when I noticed it, the small, crumpled receipt on the nightstand. I picked it up, smooth paper crackling under my fingers. It was for a bottle of whiskey purchased at a nearby store. The date matched the night she booked the hotel. I slipped the receipt into my pocket, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in my chest. I was close, but I needed more. I went back downstairs, acting like I'd just been asking questions, like I was just some guy interested in a hotel room. The clerk looked at me oddly. "Thanks," I said, slipping out the door. My mind raced. What next? I had the evidence now. The hotel receipt, the messages, the knowledge that she lied about her whereabouts. I knew I couldn't confront her yet, not directly. I had to be smarter. Waiting was the hardest part. I kept thinking about how she'd looked at me last week, the way she'd smiled, the little lies she'd told. I felt the sting of betrayal, sharp and hot. I couldn't let her think I didn't know. I had to catch her in the act, or at least make her believe I was close enough to do so. Back at the cabin, I sat on the porch, staring at the woods, trying to calm my racing brain. I knew her schedule, her habits. She'd be at work tomorrow, probably trying to convince herself that I'd never find out. I knew better. I was ready. I pulled out her phone again and looked at the messages. I needed to plan my next move carefully. I had to make her see that I wasn't as dumb as she thought. I was already 2 steps ahead. And when I finally confronted her, it wasn't going to be pretty. I took a deep breath, feeling the cold air fill my lungs. This was only the beginning. She'd underestimated me, and now she'd pay. Next part. Today I woke up with a clear head, or at least as clear as it's going to get. I spent the morning mapping out my plan. I knew I couldn't just burst in and accuse her. She'd deny everything, maybe even spin some sob story. No, I needed to be methodical. I had to make her believe I didn't know, then catch her slipping. The first step was to keep her off balance. I needed her to think I was clueless, that she'd gotten away with it. Meanwhile, I'd gather all the evidence I could, make sure I had her dead to rights. I stared at her phone again, contemplating whether I should hack into her email or wait for her to slip up. I chose patience. She was predictable, and I knew her routines. She left for work around 8:30, her usual hurried pace. I watched her from the window, feeling that familiar surge of anger mixed with something darker, determination. I kept my phone close, ready to record or catch anything that might come up. I knew she'd try to cover her tracks, but I was watching every little movement, every word. While she was gone, I rechecked her messages. More flirtation, more evidence that she'd been sneaking around. I also found a photo she'd saved, an image of the cabin taken during our last trip there. That was the place she'd lied about helping her niece. That's where she'd met him. I clenched my jaw. When she left, I slipped her phone into my backpack. I was going to confront her, but not yet. I had a different plan. I wanted her to think she still in control. I needed her to be comfortable enough to slip up, so I waited. She came back around 4 p.m., humming to herself as if her entire day had been perfectly normal. I greeted her with a neutral tone, but inside I was boiling. I asked her about her day, pretending to be interested. She was quick to drop little hints, how her boss praised her, how she was so busy with work. Then I asked, "Did anything interesting happen today?" She shrugged, flashing her bright smile. Just the usual. Honestly, I've been thinking about that weekend at the cabin. It was so relaxing. That was my cue. I decided to play the naive husband for now. Yeah, I wish I'd got to go. You seem to really enjoy helping your niece, huh? I said, trying to sound casual. Her eyes flickered just a tiny bit. Of course, I mean I did. It's nice to help family. She hesitated, then added, why do you ask? I kept my tone even. No reason. Just thought it was weird you'd be gone so much lately, that's all. Anyway, I was thinking we could do something this weekend, maybe a little getaway, just us. She nodded, her smile a bit tight. Sounds good. But her face looked a little too composed, like she was planning her next move. I knew I had to push her further, make her slip. But I also had to keep my cool. I was already feeling a flush of adrenaline, like I was walking a tightrope. I wanted to scream, to shout at her that I knew everything. Instead, I smiled back and kept talking about the wedding arrangements, about our future. Later, I took a walk outside, pretending to enjoy the fresh air, but I was really wiring myself up. I needed to find out if she'd leave her phone unattended, if she was dumb enough to slip up. I also thought about planting a little something, maybe a photo or a message, just to see if she'd try to cover her tracks. The night loomed ahead, and I knew she'd be in for a surprise. She'd think she was still in the clear, that I was clueless, but I was already planning to turn the tables on her. I wanted her to feel the cold weight of knowing. I was finally in control. I kept my eyes on her when she was distracted, watching her every move. That's when I saw her pick up her phone again, and I knew this was the moment I'd been waiting for. I had to be ready. I had to be smarter than her. I closed my eyes for a second, trying to steady myself. When I opened them, I saw her sitting on the sofa, scrolling through her messages. I slipped my phone out of my pocket, ready to record. I needed proof, undeniable proof. And when the moment came, I'd strike. I was done playing nice. I'd let her see what betrayal really looked like. That's how I'd finally get her to face what she'd done. And from there, well, I'd decide whether I wanted her in my life anymore. I took a deep breath, feeling the cold air fill my lungs. The game was on. Next part. The evening was tense in a way I hadn't felt in years. I kept busy pretending to be normal, but inside my mind was racing. Every time she glanced at her phone, I felt my stomach tighten. I knew she was probably aware I was watching, but I didn't care. I had to keep her on edge, make her believe I was still clueless, while secretly gathering everything I needed. I decided I'd put my plan into motion that night. No more waiting. No more playing it cool. I was going to confront her on my terms, but I needed to be clever about it. She had to believe she was winning, that she had the upper hand. That's when I realized I needed a distraction, something to make her drop her guard. So I told her I was going to take a shower, leaving my phone on the table. She didn't seem suspicious, just a quick nod, a faint smile. Once I was inside, I grabbed my phone and activated the voice recorder. I wanted every word she said, every sneaky lie, captured in case I needed it later. Then I slipped out the back door and headed to the cabin study. I'd previously downloaded the hotel's confirmation email and some of the messages from her phone. Now I was going to plant them in her email account, make her think she'd forgotten to delete them. I needed her to find the proof herself, to realize she'd been caught. The key was subtlety. I logged into her email, set the messages to pop up as new, and left a few breadcrumbs, little hints that she'd overlooked. I even set her email password to a new one so she'd be locked out once she tried to access it again. That way I'd have leverage. She'd have to come to me if she wanted her account back. Meanwhile, I kept an eye on the house through the window. She was in the bathroom, humming some tune. I could hear the water running. My palms were sweaty, but I forced myself to stay calm. This was it. I'd spent days planning this, and now it was do or die. When she finally came out, I was already back in the living room, pretending to be engrossed in a book. She came in, flicked on the light, and looked at me. Hey, you okay? You've been acting weird today. I looked up, forcing a shrug. Just tired, long week, you know. She smiled, but I saw the flicker of suspicion in her eyes. Yeah, I get that, but it's weird you're so tense. I raised an eyebrow. Just want everything to be perfect for the wedding next week, that's all. Her smile faltered. Yeah, I know, I want it to be special. That's when I pulled out my phone, kept my expression casual. Hey, I found something today about the hotel. Remember I told you I was curious? She stiffened. What are you talking about? I saw the receipt and I saw your messages. I kept my voice steady, but I could feel the adrenaline surging. You've been lying to me, Emily. For days, maybe weeks, about where you've been with whom. Her face went pale. You're overreacting. It's not what it looks like. Oh, I think it is. You were sneaking around with Jake, weren't you? In that hotel room just before our wedding, I have the proof. I held up my phone, showing her the messages I'd secretly recorded. She looked as if she'd been hit by a bus. Her eyes darted around, searching for an escape. This is a mistake. You don't understand. No, I understand perfectly. I get it now. All those late nights, all those excuses about helping her niece. They were lies. I took a deep breath, controlling the rage bubbling up. You've been cheating on me and I don't even know why. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came, only that defeated look on her face. I decided then and there I'd had enough. No tears, no begging, just cold, hard truth. I told her I'd be leaving, that I didn't want to see her anymore. When she tried to justify herself, I cut her off. It's over. I want the keys to our house and I want you to pack your things. Now. With trembling hands, she handed me the keys. I saw the tears welling up, but I didn't care. I'd already made up my mind. This betrayal had broken whatever was left of the trust we once had. I took the keys and left her standing there, speechless. As I walked out the door, I felt the weight lift just a little, even as my stomach churned with pain. I knew this was only the beginning, but at least now I was finally in control. The house felt cold when I got in the car. I stared at the door handle one last time, then started the engine. I realized that I'd never forget that feeling, the sting of betrayal. I'd promised myself that I'd never let someone do this to me again, and from now on I'd be the one calling the shots. Next part. After I drove away from the cabin, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. The revenge, the confrontation, it all happened faster than I thought it would. Still, I knew I couldn't just walk away without consequences. I sat in my car for a long moment, hands on the steering wheel, trying to process what I'd done and what I'd just uncovered. The house was silent when I got back, the kind of silence that punches you in the gut. I went straight to my laptop and started drafting an email to her, one that spelled everything out in plain terms. No anger, no accusations, just cold facts. I attached the screenshots of the messages, the hotel receipt, and the fake email I'd planted. I wanted her to see that I'd been in control all along, that I'd caught her in her lie. I also sent a copy of the evidence to myself, just in case. I'd learned over the years that when you're about to burn a bridge, you make sure you have all the proof. I also scheduled the email to send first thing in the morning so she'd wake up to the truth. That way she'd have no excuse, no time to spin a story. I knew she'd try to contact me, maybe even beg for forgiveness or deny everything. Honestly, I didn't care. I'd already made my decision. I was done. I was tired of being played like a fool. The betrayal had cut too deep. I had to move on and I had to be decisive. I went to bed that night feeling hollow but also strangely relieved. The weight of the secret was finally out in the open. I knew she'd be devastated, probably more than she let on. I could picture her panic, her trying to come up with some explanation, but I didn't want to hear it. I'd already made plans. The next morning, I woke up early. I was already logged into her email when her phone started vibrating on the bedside table. I saw her name pop up. I hesitated for a second, then answered without thinking. Hello, I said, my voice cold. There was a pause, then her voice. Please just listen. I was stupid, okay? I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I let her talk, feeling a flicker of satisfaction. I know what you did. I know everything. Please, I love you. I'll do anything. Just don't throw everything away. I heard the desperation in her voice, but I also knew it was too late. I had already sealed my decision. I told her I'd send her the evidence I'd gathered, and then I hung up. Within minutes, she got the email. I watched her reaction through the window from my new place where I'd already moved my stuff. Her face went pale as she stared at the screen, reading the truth I'd laid out. Her hands trembled, and I swear I saw tears, though I didn't care. I wasn't going to listen to her excuses. I'd made up my mind. I took a deep breath, feeling the cold air fill my lungs. It was over. I grabbed the last of my things from the house, the keys, a few personal items, then locked the door behind me for the last time. I left her standing there, stunned, probably trying to process how I'd caught her. As I walked away, I knew I'd finally reclaimed my life. The betrayal had been sharp, but it was also a wake-up call. I'd been blind, but now I saw everything clearly. I ran my hand over the car's steering wheel, feeling the smooth surface underneath. Next, I filed for divorce. I knew I'd never trust her again, and I didn't want to try. I was done trying to fix what was broken. I handed over the keys myself, making it official. No games, no drama, just a clean break. And as I watched the horizon, I realized something simple but true. The greatest revenge is walking away with your dignity intact. That's what I did. That's what I'll always do. Now that everything's settled, I sit here reflecting on what's happened. It's been a wild ride, and honestly, I still feel the sting of betrayal every time I think about it. But above all, I feel relief, like I finally took control of my life again. I handed over the keys to the house, signed the divorce papers, and walked away from someone I thought I knew. Looking back, I realize I should have seen the red flags earlier. The little lies, her nervous energy, the way she was secretive with her phone. But I let it slide, thinking I was overreacting. Turns out those signs were there all along. It's a harsh lesson, but one I won't forget. What I want to say to anyone out there going through something similar is this: trust your gut. Don't ignore the warning signs, no matter how small they seem. When your instincts scream that something's wrong, pay attention. Because once the trust is broken, it's almost impossible to repair. And if you find yourself in this situation, sneaking around, discovering proof, stay calm. Don't rush into something you'll regret. Gather your evidence, plan your next move carefully, and above all, protect yourself emotionally. Revenge isn't about hurting someone else. It's about reclaiming your dignity. I did that by walking away on my own terms. I won't pretend it's easy, and I won't say I don't carry some scars, but I also know I'm stronger now. I learned that I don't need someone who betrays me to be happy. I can build my life from scratch, and I will. To anyone reading this who's in the middle of their own heartbreak, know that you're not alone. It's okay to feel angry, hurt, or betrayed. Those feelings are valid, but don't let them consume you. Use that fire to push forward, to rebuild, to find someone who truly respects you. I'm not a saint. I wanted revenge, and I got it. But the real victory was in walking away, head held high, knowing I hadn't let her take everything from me. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be a victim anymore. So, if you're in a similar boat, remember, trust yourself, stay calm, and never forget your worth. No matter what, you have the power to take control of your story. And that's something no betrayal can ever take away.